I am the big tank.
On the battlefield of life, nothing's harder than a tank. Yeah, have you ever met a man, hearts full of love, bigger than a tank?
Big tank.
He served in a few wars, he's a veteran that stands for a cause. For the best interviews and news, just keep it glued to the tank.
I am the tank, big
Big
tank.
Tank Talk.
Tank.
Big Tank Talk.
Hey friends, Big Tank here. Welcome to another episode of Big Tank Talk. Today I have the pleasure of introducing to you a Scottish singer, songwriter, and rapper, Lex Lethal. Lex, welcome to Big Tank Talk.
Thank you, Tank. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I appreciate you taking the time to be here. I don't like to beat around the bush, so I'll just jump right in and ask you the first question if you're ready.
Sounds great. Let's go.
Okay, what first got you into music?
I was 4 years old and I was actually quite violently ill. And I was laying on the couch with my head on my father's stomach, listening to The Boys Are Back in Town by Thin Lizzy. And I just felt so safe and so secure. And probably about 4 years later, I think, was the first time I found a stage, and that had happened after hearing that song again and being awash with that same sense of security and realizing the power the music actually has. I needed to explore that. I needed to harness that and share it with other people.
Absolutely. Music definitely has power. Music has the ability to put people at ease or to express emotions that they otherwise couldn't express. So
That's right.
I definitely feel the power of music. So you're a songwriter. What, if you could describe from the moment you decide you want to make a song, you want to write it, you want to put music to it, to the point of recording, what's your creative process?
It's quite varied in some senses. A lot of the time, I I find myself pushing myself to explore sound, finding new beats, or playing around with making my own instrumental, and that kind of the sound that I either find or create through that process will define the context of the song, the direction I want to go with it. I'll usually like find that the beat kind of speaks to me in a way. The instrumental provokes certain emotion, certain thought, and I just try to build on that as much as I can. Then once I've gotten that, I usually play the beat on repeat, and I'll sit with a pen and a pen and a piece of paper, and I'll scribble away the first things that come to mind. Often I find the rhythm before I find the lyrics. Quite often the melody as well, if there's singing involved. And I'll just try and keep my mind focused on what I'm trying to say, what it is that the beat has provoked in me, and try to put that down in words in the best structure that I can. Once I get a first draft finished of the song, I'll perform it to myself over and over again, and these changes like come as along the way. These small things will change in delivery, tone, that kind of thing. It kind of takes on a life of its own from the start to the end, really. The music kind of tells me what to do rather than the other way around. And then when I get into the studio, I've made sure that I've rehearsed it and that I'm comfortable before I do get there, so that I can get it there and put everything that I've felt since the start into my performance of the track.
That's a pretty excellent, detailed answer. So, let me ask you this: how long have you been in the music business, such as it were?
Well, I've been making music for an awfully long time, but I can only really say that I've been in the music business as such, pursuing any kind of professional career in it since 2020, or the tail end of 2019.
Okay, I think I was angling more for the making music part of it, because
Well,
most people that I know that are in the music business there was a time before they quote unquote entered the business where they were still writing and creating,
Yeah.
and building to the point where they were comfortable enough to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do.
Well, I wrote my first song when I was 13. It was a little acoustic number telling the tale of those who sought the gold of El Dorado and found instead curses and hardship and pain and death.
No, that's certainly fair. I've only written one song in my life, so I can't imagine the how I mean, music speaks to me in a different way. I guess that's what makes me a great fan and a great lover of music through all genres.
The
Um,
listener's appreciation is equally as valuable as the creator's invention.
and I've heard you perform, and I think you're quite exceptional at what you do, and that's why I'm happy that you're here today.
Thank you. I
Uh,
appreciate that. I'm glad to be here.
as you started with the making music to and progressing to where you're at now, what's been the best advice you've been given with regard to music?
Um, Never give up, no matter how hard you feel that it gets. Um, there have been times, and there will be for any creator, where you're kind of washed over with this, if you will, imposter syndrome, where you feel like, not enough people are going to appreciate what you're doing. Nobody's really understanding it. Maybe you're not good enough at it to be able to create this response in people. And it's every artist's pain. Like, we all suffer from it. And the greatest advice has definitely been to not give in to that and keep pushing. Because as I've continued to push, I've found my audience, and it's ever growing. So never give
That's
up.
that's really not just in the music business, in any endeavor, I think to
It's true.
not to give up and to realize that you're going to have ups and downs no matter what you do, and to stay
Yeah,
with it. That's really good advice. So I like that. So
agreed.
now you've told me how you got into music. What inspires you now?
Life inspires me, be it my own or the lives of others, what I observe. Um, Often pain, but also joy. Inspiration could be found in every aspect of life, all corners. There's something.
Absolutely. Before I ask you something else music related, I have to ask you, do you do you have family? Are you still single?
I have a 6-year-old daughter, and I have two partners, two girlfriends whom I love dearly. Both wonderful human beings.
Well, being a father to daughters, I appreciate that. I'm sure she is the apple of your eye, so to speak.
She is my world. There's nothing more important to me than her. She even comes before music.
And it'll factor in with a question I'll ask here in a little bit.
Mm.
Um, if you had the option, um, for any genre, this is strictly you're going to go and you're going to want to do a show, and you get to choose who you can open for. Who would you open for?
Sleep Token, without a shadow of a doubt. Since August now, I've been absolutely obsessed with this band. Their vocalist is hypnotic, and it feels at times he goes by the name Vessel, and as I said just the other day on my Facebook, at times it feels like he is my vessel, like he sings the words that I can't say. He sings very, very deeply into my soul every time I hear him.
That's awesome. Um, and then a question that's related to that. Your answer may be the same. I don't know, but if you had the option to, who would you collaborate with?
That would have to be Sleep Token again. Yeah, definitely. There are some
Uh,
other artists that I've considered up until the moment that I found Sleep Token, but at this point, I feel like what I've been doing and what I've been trying to grow my sound towards would really blend well with them. I think we could do great work together.
I hope that comes to pass at some point. Then I love to see my performing friends achieve their dreams, goals, however you want to put it. I want to be. I want to see you do what you do that makes you the best at what you do. I guess if that makes sense.
It does. Then thank you.
Uh, Now, have you ever done any touring yet?
Not as of yet. I've played some concerts in different parts of the world, kind of on a whim, if you will. Um, I haven't really had the budget or the backing to be able to pull off a tour yet. That's one of the goals I'm working towards in trying to grow my network and grow my fan base, like in different parts of the world, is to be able to tour, particularly in America and Canada, where I think I will make a bigger impact.
That's absolutely fair. Now I'm going to ask you to look into the future a minute. Um, we're looking at the point where you are going to be on tour. What now you're a father, so I'm sure that'll factor into your answer. But what do you anticipate being the hardest part about touring?
Definitely being away from my daughter, without a shadow of a doubt. I am going to miss her. My plans for touring will only ever be based on a 3 month basis. I'm not sure I could survive a year without my daughter. 3 months is probably the longest I could push for, I think. Uh, I would miss her so much that my performance would suffer, my enjoyment of the art form would suffer. I really don't think that it would be beneficial to me to go any longer than 3 months on a tour. At least now. Perhaps when she's older, she can join me on some of these shows and join me on some of the tour dates. But as it stands, she's only 6, and I think I need her as much as she needs me, to be honest.
Oh, I'm sure there's no doubt about that. And being uh, having served in the military and here in the United States, um, I was Navy, and we would do 6 month tours, and just being separated from like my parents, my siblings, that was hard. So I can imagine, and being a parent, I can imagine how hard it would be to be away from your child. So I
Yeah.
respect that.
As
Um,
it stands, there's a rotation with my daughter's mother where there's still like there's a few days of the week where I won't see her, and those few days are hard enough without thinking about like 6 months to a year. That would be a nightmare for me.
I can understand that, believe me. Now, when you are performing, what's your favorite song to perform?
Um, Oh, that would depend on whether we're talking covers or my own material. I think of my own material, uh, probably my favorite to perform right now is Skin Ticket because it's frankly it's an onslaught of lyrical gymnastics and physical performance. It's really hard and it really brings out a lot of kind of internal power to be able to perform something with that kind of pace.
Okay, that's fair. And that question was left to your interpretation. It's not, it could be your own, or it could be something that's already been released by you know, more maybe a better known or just a
Yeah.
different performer. So I respect your answer. I like that. Um, Good or bad? How do you feel the internet has impacted the music business?
I think there was a time where there was a positive impact, like in the days of MySpace, where there were artists who were literally able to achieve fame solely based on networking on the internet. But now, it's created an overabundance of artists. The music industry is oversaturated at this point, so it's much harder for artists to be able to shine through, particularly ones of a more unique nature who really deserve to shine through.
That's certainly fair. Maybe related to that in some way, but if you could change anything about the music business, what would it be?
I would do away with record labels using 360 deals and things like that, and I think I would have these same people use their network and their resources to solely focus on distribution deals, picking artists up and pushing them forward rather than attempting to bleed them dry through their art form.
That's definitely reasonable, and I know the business is still heavily slanted against independent artists and
Yeah.
people that are doing things on their own. So I respect your answer a lot. Um, Now, twisting an earlier question around, I asked you before what was the best advice you'd ever been given. Now I would ask you, for fans of Lex Lethal, uh, what message would you give them?
Never give up anything that you pursue. Never back down. I actually have a song of the same title, Never Back Down. And the whole point of that song and the whole point of my message in my music, the core message that I try to put forward is that I have been through hell and back. I've been through so much in my life, for better or worse. I've faced many different hardships, and I'm still here. I'm still pushing forward, and it never broke me, regardless of how broken I felt at times. So just keep going, keep pushing on. No matter what you're facing, you will get through it if you push hard enough.
That is actually a great message, not just in music but in life. Um, no matter what you do, you got to keep moving forward. So,
Right.
excellent, excellent message there. Um, do you have a musical hero, and if so, who?
I have a couple. I'm first going to have to mention Prince. Prince is without a shadow of a doubt one of my heroes, mostly because of his attitude towards making music, as well as his attitude towards the sharing and distribution of music. And he's one of the first people I heard speaking out against record labels and their exploitation of artists. And I have always been all about the art form rather than the success. And he reflected a very similar personality. Followed very swiftly by Freddie Mercury, because that's another one who faced a hell of a lot of hardship and gave the middle finger to any hater and pushed till literally his very last.
I have to tell you, your heroes are two of my very favorite performers that I've
I
ever
appreciate
heard.
that.
And I've been around. I've heard music going back. My knowledge of music goes back to the what I heard goes back to the '60s, but my knowledge of music goes back to the '30s. And those are
Yeah,
two of the best you'll ever hear.
agreed.
So that's awesome. Now, as a performer in the music business, what's your biggest fear?
My biggest fear, I don't know. I don't really think too heavily on my fears as an artist, and in the music industry. Um, I suppose I'm afraid of stagnation. I'm afraid of remaining the same, uh, being monotonous in my pursuits and performances. I think it's important to be fluid as much as you can, to adapt and change and to be able to sort of work with whatever's put in front of you, and be able to work your way through that. So probably stagnation, I think.
Well, that's absolutely reasonable. And I have to tell you, Lex, I haven't heard a lot of your performance, but I've heard enough of variety of it. I don't see you ever becoming stale at what you do.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Um, so where do you look into the future a bit? What's down the road for Lex Lethal, say 5, 10 years down the road?
Well, within the next 5 years, I would like to have had at least one, maybe two tours in the Americas. Um, I would like to have impacted some people in some very positive ways, and I would like for any recognition to carry with it the drive and the passion that I have for the music, and my utter lack of interest in the financial side of success. I don't I don't seek fame. I don't seek money. I seek the opportunity to spread my message as far and wide as I can. 10 years from now, I would like to see some artists coming forward that I've inspired to do the same.
That's absolutely reasonable. And I gotta believe that down the road you're going to see artists that you've inspired come forward, and I'm looking forward to that day to see it, and looking forward to seeing how far you go in the next 5 to 10 years.
Thank you.
Um, I don't have well, for now, I don't have more questions. Now, what I have is I would like to give you an opportunity to shout out, whether it's shout out a person or persons, or music that you performed or released. It's just a blank slate for Lex Lethal to shout out, show his appreciation for whatever. So this is your opportunity for that.
Well, there are far too many people that have been of a positive influence to my growth as an artist, but I think ultimately I would like to give the biggest shout out to those that have backed me even when I'm been incapable of backing myself. And there's quite a few of those, but very few that have done it to the extent where my own negative thought has been blown aside and has been pushed into the darkness where it can be buried and put behind an actual drive to continue. And that would be definitely my twin brother, for one. He's always been very good at supporting what I do. My best friend, Martha Elizabeth, she's my best friend and my tattoo artist, but no one's ever supported me like she does. To both of my partners, Julia and Teresa, and they've both been very active in their support of me. And then I think probably Sprite. I'd like to give a shout out to Sprite, who, although we don't work together in the same capacity that we used to, she's remained solid in her support of me since day one.
Well, that's fair. I'd also like to, and I don't mean to disrespect you by doing this, but I also want to shout out your daughter, even though I don't know your daughter, because she clearly is there's a lot. She plays a big part in you doing what you do.
She does. She's kind of my future in a lot of ways, and I do aim to show her the kind of resilience I hope that she can carry forward in life herself. She's a strong-willed, intelligent, and very caring individual, and knowing that I'm a part of creating that is a huge inspiration for me.
And I was wrong. I do have one more question. Down the road, say maybe a year or 2 years down the road, would you be willing to sit down and let me ask you questions again?
I would love to. It would be my honor.
All right. I appreciate you taking the time, Lex. And I hope this interview is as a positive for you as it's been for me. I've really enjoyed hearing your answers. I love listening to the thought processes behind the excellent performance that I've met since I started this channel. To the people that are watching this interview, I encourage you, if you think I should have asked more questions or different questions of Lex Lethal, to put them in the chat for the video. I read all comments. I will respond to the comments if they inspire one. If it's a question you feel strongly about, if I can't get the answer, I will go to Lex and ask him, or perhaps he'll go into the comments himself and answer directly.
I was just going to say that I'll follow with the comments myself, and if anyone has any questions for me personally, then I will answer them.
I also would ask you to like this video, like this interview, and to by all means subscribe to Big Tank Talk, because there's still many great things coming. Lex, it's really been a privilege and an honor for me to take some time to ask you these questions and to get to know you just a little bit better. Thank you.
And the honor was mine. Thank you for having me.
Well, friends, that's this episode of Big Tank Talk. Stay tuned. There's better things coming.